Good morning, everyone. Good morning. What's up? What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Tuesday, December the 16th. We have some red folder news coming into today. We just had the contract rollover here as well on the futures. Kind of talk about how that affects the market. But overall, you can see markets kind of dropping here in the after hours, pushing towards the downside. We actually might have to refine our key levels here as well just because of the contract rollover. But with that being said, let's go on to the key economic events coming into today. And then we'll go on to some charts on the major indices and, of course, on the tech side here as well. Not really too much is happening with the overall markets. Tesla, kind of nice push towards the upside yesterday. But besides that, really a lot of names that are red here with the overall indices. Alrighty, before we do that, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning, Andreas, Cody, Victor. Good morning, Lamit, Patrick, Hartik, Cinna, Martin, KO. Good morning, Peter, X, Juan, Robert, Purple, I am, Hector. Good morning, Todd, Benny, Chili, Sam, Rocky, Big. What's up, everyone? Yeah. What's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Let's go on to, let me actually pull up the Forex Factory here, and then we'll get started. Okay. So coming into today here for the overall markets, as you can see, we have a decent amount of red folder news at 8:30. So really, we'll just kind of develop our game plan, mark out key levels, and then we will wait for 8:30 to see how the market reacts. But we do have average hourly earnings, right? Core retail sales, which is going to be key, non-farm enrollment. And we also have the unemployment rate here as well. So a bunch of red folder news, as I mentioned, coming into today. And then we also do have flash services, which is going to be at 9:45 a.m. And then later into the week, the key thing here is going to be the CPI data that we're going to have at 8:30 on Thursday, along with unemployment. So as I mentioned, we'll go over some charts and then we'll just wait for 8:30, the red folder news and the economic data to drop. Let's head on to the ES and NQ, and then we'll head on to the major tech names, as I mentioned. Alrighty. So first things first, what we have here is the contract rollover. So every single quarter, basically, whenever the other futures contracts gets more volume than the current one, we're going to have an automatic contract rollover into the next expiration. So what you want to do here, oh, let me actually do this so you guys can see. So basically what you guys want to do here is change, so we have the adjusted contract on. So if we go back onto lower time frames, as you can see right here, you can toggle this on and off. It's called adjust for contract change. And if you click on this, you can see pretty big gap here in the markets. And if you click it off, you can see it's going to adjust for the contract change. So I personally like having this on. So this is what you can do, right? It's personal preference, but just to keep the levels clean, I'm going to toggle this on and we can turn our levels back on here as well. So coming into today for the ES, the key levels that we have marked out is really this low of the range. So as I mentioned, I'm going to have to draw brand new levels. So most likely we'll do that tonight on the futures charts. But basically, as you can see here, this is our key level of support that we've been bouncing off of. This is really the range that we've had in the past couple of weeks. Now you can see we're actually breaking outside of this range. So we actually ended up breaking underneath this key level here in the after hours. So you can see touch here, touch here. We're right back into this general area. So now coming into market open today, what we like to see is a reaction that we have off of your 68.70. If you want to see any sort of potential continue push higher, reclaim back above this level for a push up and towards our Friday's highs. If we ultimately get underneath, we're going to see a push right back down in towards our pre-market lows. So this is what we have for the ES coming into today. So just keep an eye out on really this previous day low along with our last week's lows. That's going to be a key level here for the overall markets coming into this morning's session. If we go into the SPY chart, fairly similar thesis here. SPY, the key levels that we have marked out now is going to be that previous day lows. You can see multiple touches here. And then we also have our Wednesday's lows of last week. So for the SPY, fairly similar thesis. If you want to see some continued downside here in the overall markets, now what we like to see is underneath your previous day lows, 679.50s for this potential push down in towards our pre-market lows and below. That's going to be key for some downside. Another possible scenario right off the bat, downside for continuation lower. So really two scenarios for the SPY coming into today. If you want to see some upside, only possible scenario, only possible scenario here is going to be the bounce off your previous day lows, or now it's going to be the reclaim back above your 682 for this continued push back towards upside. So these are the two scenarios for upside. We'll be open to playing both sides here on the markets, right? With no clear direction here on the higher time frames, we're still open to playing both sides. So this is what we have for the SPY coming into today. If you go into the hourly chart, you can see we're still technically inside of this consolidation period that we do have marked out. So if we can break underneath, you can see key level of support, multiple touches. We can have multiple touches last week, yesterday here as well. As I mentioned, if we break underneath the low of the range and hold, we can see a bigger push towards the downside. So this is going to be key coming into today. As I mentioned, we broke underneath it here in the pre-market, but we haven't broken underneath in the actual market hours. So if we can break underneath this key level support, I do expect a bigger move towards the downside, towards that 676 and potentially below. So we'll keep this in mind. If we ultimately kind of defend this level, then we're going to see this reversal right back inside the middle of the range. So keep an eye out on your 679 coming into market open today. Let's go on to the NQ chart. Alrighty. So for the NQ, you can see continued downside yesterday. Some of our levels are off just because, as I mentioned, with the contract rollover. But basically, the key levels we have marked out was this key point of interest yesterday. And we end up having a super nice rejection really right off of the bat. And we had a nice push down in towards that previous day low. So super solid move towards the downside on the NQ coming into today. And now you can see, right, we have some continued downside here as well in the overall market. So for the NQ moving forward, the key levels that we're going to have marked out, number one is going to be our last week's key pivot level. And now we're also going to have our previous day lows marked out here as well. Let me actually just remove some of these levels and we'll just draw brand new levels here as well. So coming into today, really for the NQ, let's just do this for now. As I mentioned, I'll have some brand new updated levels for you guys tomorrow. But as for today, the key levels that we're going to have marked out here is this previous day low pivot point. And then we can also mark out our last week's key pivot point here as well, which is our 25,400. So for the NQ coming into today, what we like to see is really the reaction that we have off of your 25,300 key level. If we can reclaim, we can see this nice push back up in towards kind of these key pivot levels from yesterday. Ultimately, if we reject off that previous day lows, we're going to see some more downside back down in towards that pre-market lows that we have created. So keep an eye out on your 25,300 today for the NQ. That is going to be key. If we go on to the QQQ chart, key levels that we have marked out as well. This one's a little bit better. You can see what we have here is your 612, your Friday's lows from last week. And now we also have your previous day lows. As I mentioned, if you want to see upside, really maintain above that previous day lows for a push back up in towards that 612. Ultimately, if we get underneath, we can see some more downside down in towards that pre-market lows. So this is what we have for the QQQ coming into today, along with the major indices. We'll just wait for the news that we have at 8:30. As I mentioned, we have contract rollover here as well. So really the game plan today, at least number one, we'll just wait for the we'll wait for the red folder news in about 15 minutes. And then we'll kind of develop our game plan from there. But so far it is looking like we're going to wait for the first kind of 5 to 10 minutes regardless. And then we're going to go from there. So If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over here now, you guys can now drop them in the chat. Go over the Meg 7 and now go over the rest of the names in a second. All right, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that one is in the description below as well. Okay, go on to Tesla. How do you find your demand zones? I actually made a video on it about 2 weeks ago. I posted it on my second channel, so you can check that out if you want to have a clear understanding of how I draw my key levels, or just all old highs, old lows. Okay, so number one, Tesla. Tesla, in my opinion, is still really one of the only tickers that are holding up compared to the overall markets. But as you can see, we're kind of breaking out here on the daily chart. What we now like to see is really this push up in towards our all-time highs. So as you can see here for Tesla, our next level that we have is going to be this all-time highs. We just got above our key pivot point here as well, which is our 670. And now this is the exact level we like to see hold for really this continued push higher. Let's go into the hourly chart. So for Tesla, really now, at least the major levels that I have marked out, we have our 674, which is a key pivot point. We can also mark out really this level here now as well, which is just going to be our previous kind of retest level. So let's go into the lower time frames here on Tesla. Key levels coming into today that I have marked out is just going to be that previous day lows, which is key around your 466. And then we're also going to have marked out now this 474. So for Tesla, what I really want to see is the reclaim back above your 474 for this continued push back up and towards your previous day highs and above. This is my number one scenario here for Tesla coming into today. Ultimately, if you come all the way back down in towards the low of the range, I wouldn't mind this, but I don't really want to see it come back down in towards that previous day lows. I'd like to personally see it make higher lows. Since we are creating this higher low here in the pre-market, I want to see that reclaim, as I mentioned, above your 474 coming into today. If Tesla kind of rejects off this 474, we could see your previous day lows. As I mentioned, I do want to see the reclaim if you want to see any sort of strength back towards the upside. So this is going to be the key level coming to today here for Tesla, 474. It's also your previous day close here as well. As for some other names that we do have, really not too much to talk about. NVIDIA kind of at the low of the range here now, right at our key level, which is that 174. Just a lot more consolidation, as you can see. Right now we are at the low of the range, especially on the higher time frame here as well. So if you do want to see some downside, semis didn't really move too much with the overall markets yesterday. Markets end up dropping, semis kind of right at key levels of support, so not too much to talk about. For NVIDIA now, more downside. I'd personally like to see it underneath your previous day lows. You could be looking for the 176 hold underneath for a continuation lower, or now it's going to be really underneath that previous day lows, along with their last week's lows here as well. As for some upside, just mark out your previous day highs, either the reclaim back above your 176, or now it's going to be above your previous day highs, 178.50. As for AMD, this one has been showing a little bit more weakness. So this one key level, as you can see, previous day lows, we're actually breaking underneath it here in the close, or coming into yesterday's close. Key levels that we have for AMD is just going to be our previous day lows along with our low from last week. What I'd like to see on AMD, pop and fade off of your 210 for a push down in towards your pre-market lows and below. Another possible scenario is your previous day low rejection, 207 for this continuation lower here as well. So two scenarios for AMD coming into today if the semis do want to continue heavy, specifically AMD. We have a little bit more room towards the downside. Key levels that we do have marked out is going to be now all the way back down in towards that 194. Other levels that we can have marked out here is going to be that 206. So that's what we have for today on AMD. Let's go on to a few other tickers here. Apple, not really too much to talk about here, just kind of consolidation, breaking outside of the range. Key level that we have marked out was at 276. We also have marked out your last week's highs here as well. Nice rejection, pushed right down within the first kind of 5-15 minutes towards the downside. Now for Apple, slowly pushing lower. So now we're back down in towards that 272. As for everything else, yeah, Google slowly pushing lower here as well. 304 is going to be key. Meta, just kind of consolidation right at a key level. So a lot of these names are just consolidating kind of in this general area where the market is pushing lower. So really not too much to talk about for the overall indices and especially these individual tech names. The only one that's breaking out, of course, is Tesla. So we're just going to keep an eye out on that one. As for Amazon, breaking underneath key levels yesterday, kind of this nice immediate retest for the downside. And then even Microsoft, a lot of these ones, as I mentioned, are just consolidating. So I am going to go over some other names here, and then we'll just wait for 8:30 red folder news before we develop our game plan coming into today. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers now, you guys can drop them in the chat. I already see some names that you guys already mentioned, so we'll go over that. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that of course is in the description below as well. What's up, everyone? Good morning. What's the name of my second channel? If you click onto my YouTube channel, you can scroll to the bottom and you can find, let me see if I can show you guys. So as you can see right here, this is my channel. If you scroll all the way back to the bottom, you're going to see my second channel. And then you're going to click on this. And you can see this is my second channel. It pops up. And I have this video posted. Post my weekly outlooks here. I'll post more like raw videos on this channel, or anything that I don't post on my main channel, I'll post on my second channel. So you can see I just post how to draw my key levels, and you can click on this. It's the full live stream. It's about an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, let's go on to a few names while I answer some questions here. Let's go on to Palantir first. Palantir is consolidating still inside the middle of the range. Any thoughts on the Christmas rally? So the Christmas rally basically can happen anytime in December. We already had our Christmas rally, so now I don't expect too much. We could see kind of this low volume grind up to end off the year, but we already hit our major objectives. So for the SPY, when we kind of started with December, we had this nice bounce. Key levels was that kind of all-time highs, key pivot point. We're still technically bullish on SPY. We still could get that move higher, but we're now going to see that break. We now need to see that break above your previous all-time highs for this continuation higher. So right now, we're kind of just creating this flat top. As you can see, push higher. Now we're just kind of consolidating in this general area, potentially forming a flag or maybe a cup and handle. We're going to need to see that break really above our 690 if we want to see any sort of continuation. All right, let's go on to Palantir. So Palantir, as you can see, at least on the daily time frame, nice push higher, just a little bit more consolidation the past few sessions. Not really too much to talk about on this ticker. If you were to just draw out our period of consolidation, you can kind of just draw this level right here. All right, 188, 180. Past week, we've just been consolidating this general area. Pretty big volatility, but not really a clear direction. So just be looking for bounces off of your lows, rejections off your key levels of resistance. So that's what we have for Palantir. Other levels that we have marked out is your 181. As I mentioned, we have your 183.50, and now we have your previous day highs, 186. So just keep an eye out on these major levels here for Palantir for any sort of continuation towards the upside. Let's go into a few other ones. Hood maintaining bullish bearish stance towards the downside. Every pop has been shorted, so there's been a few nice names to short to to the downside actually. We have right AVGO in specific along with Oracle. These ones had earnings last week that really gave us a clear direction for the markets or gave us a negative news catalyst, right? AVGOs in specific. And this one actually had a really nice shorting opportunity underneath your previous day lows yesterday. So the key level was that previous day low, nice immediate retest for a continuation lower. And now this one's heading back towards the downside. So it's going to head right back down in towards our key level of support now, which is going to be that 330. And now this is kind of the area we want to see some buyers step in. So this is what we have for AVGO, at least coming into today. Higher time frame key level of support is going to be now that 330. And then other levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be your just your previous day low. So that's going to be key coming into today. As for Oracle, key level here is going to be your Friday's lows of last week, 186. Let me actually delete this. Refine this level, and you can drag it over. So 186 here for Oracle for continuation lower. So key level 186 here for Oracle. For AVGO, it's going to be your previous day lows here as well. The rest of the names kind of like SoFi dropping, Hood. So a lot of these high beta names kind of dropping with the overall markets as well. A little bit of a pullback here. MU, we do have earnings this week. That is going to be on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, or Wednesday after close. That's going to be the next kind of big earnings that we do have. And then a bunch of these semis kind of pulling back just because SMH, you can see a little bit of rejection off of our all-time highs. So that's why a lot of the semis now have been staying heavy after this solid push. After this drop here later into November, nice push back up and towards our all-time highs. Everyone's going to be looking to take some profits off at this brand new all-time highs, which is that 372. So that's what we have, at least a bunch of the levels that we have marked out. As I mentioned, nothing in the markets right now is super clear. A lot of it has to just do with a lot of consolidation on the major indices. On the SPY and Q, SPY recently rejected off your all-time highs. Let's go into IWM since a couple of you guys are asking for IWM here now. So IWM is one of the leading indices towards the upside. So basically with the SPY and Qs pulling back, SPY, a little bit of rejection off your all-time highs. For the QQQ, that one's lagging behind here as well. Really the Dow Jones along with the IWM has been leading the market higher. So for the key levels for the IWM, it's now just going to be this previous all-time highs that we're going to have marked out. So let's mark this out here on the daily time frame. Now let's go back onto the lower time frames here now as well. Doesn't seem like my charts are loading. Give it a second here. Yeah, I'm not sure why this layout just completely stopped working. Let me reload this up. Okay, so for the IWM, key levels that we have marked out is just going to be this previous all-time highs pivot point, which is our 251.50. You can see now we're just kind of right back inside this consolidation, which we originally broke out from. And now we're back down in towards that 251. Want to see some upside? It's going to have to break back above this 251.50 for any sort of push higher. You can see multiple touches, break and retest here. Tried holding it yesterday, kind of broke underneath it in the pre-market. So 251.50, hold above that level is going to be key for some upside. If we reject off this level, then we're just going to come right back down in towards the low of the range, which is going to be that 249. So really today now for IWM, that's going to be key. As I mentioned, we do have some red folder news here now as well. So let's take a look at this. Okay. We just had 8:30 come out. We have a bunch of numbers that are being released currently. Number one, core retail sales forecasted 0.2, 0.4% non-farm enrollment. As you can see here, 51K forecasted, 61K actual. So good numbers are being released here. Unemployment rate just up by a little bit. But so far with the overall markets, let's see how the major indices are reacting. So IW, I'm trying to get back above this 250. SPY and Q is bouncing right off that previous day low. So far in the markets, we're bouncing off this previous day lows, coming back up in towards really this previous day close here now. So for the major indices, let's go back onto the 15-minute time frame. So coming into today, the game plan, we're going to keep an eye out on this 612. That's going to be key here. If we can reclaim back above the 612, I'd like to see a push back towards the upside here for the major indices above your 612. If we reject, we're going to see a push right back down in towards that previous day lows, 609. If you go into the SPY chart here, fairly similar thesis. As you can see, kind of just this bounce right off your previous day lows as of so far. If we can get above your 683, we are going to be trading in between its previous day's range. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that you have to be a little bit more cautious when we're trading in between its previous day's range. We're technically going to be trading in between our Friday's range here as well. So we're trading in between Monday's range, we're trading in between Friday's range. So this long position above your 683 is going to be fairly difficult, at least for momentum wise, in my opinion. So you just have to be a little bit more cautious for trading in these markets. Either give it a little bit more wiggle room, be on lighter size. This week, we do have some red folder news. We have CPI later into the week as well, but kind of with this Christmas holidays coming up and the New Year's, I do expect it to be a little bit lower volume, especially next week with it being with a holiday on Thursday. Friday is going to be low volume day, and then the week after, similar thing, another market holiday on Friday, and then another market holiday on Thursday, and then Friday, similar thing as well. It's going to be lower volume the day after New Year's. So for the SPY coming into today, keep an eye out on this 683. If we do reject off this level, we can see a push right back down in towards that previous day lows, as I mentioned. So this is what we have for the SPY and Qs coming into today. Just keep an eye out on your last week's lows, which is going to be this Friday's pivot point. If we go on to now the major indices and what we have, as I mentioned, Tesla is going to be my main watch, just because the higher time frame is still very much bullish. What we like to see is the reclaim back above your 475. The trade today is going to be the reclaim for a push higher. Another possible scenario, of course, this is much farther away, would be the break above your previous day highs. I think the risk reward would be a little bit more difficult on this one, but keep an eye on Tesla reclaim back above your 475 today for a push back towards the upside. Going to be one of my main watches. As for everything else, Nvidia kind of bouncing off the lows, not too much to talk about here. Other levels you can have marked out really just going to be this previous day highs. AMD key level is just going to be your 209. So with the markets kind of bouncing here, we're just kind of bouncing right back in between the middle of the range. So we're still not outside this range. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just zoom out on the higher time frames. Currently for the SPY, it seems like we are getting some buyers off the low of the range, and we're probably just going to continue back in between the middle of the range, which just means we're still just going to be stuck in this consolidation period. And if we're stuck inside this consolidation period, continuation trades are much harder. You'd much rather be looking for kind of reversals and rejections off key levels. So this is what we have for SPY coming into today, and at least moving forward. As I mentioned, we haven't really done anything in the past really couple of weeks besides last week where we had that nice push with FOMC. Now we're just kind of consolidating in this general area for the SPY. At least for the QQQ, as I mentioned, we already have our levels marked out, which is just going to be your Friday's lows of last week. So which is going to be key 612, and then SPY we have this 681.50. As I mentioned, Tesla going to be my main watch coming to today. We'll keep an eye out on a few other tickers here as well. Let me quickly go over a few names that I like. Kind of similar game plan to yesterday. I don't really like too much besides Tesla towards the upside. The rest of the names kind of lagging behind or just following the overall indices, especially on these high beta names here as well. really not too much going on. You can see a lot of these ones are a lot more bearish, right? Hood, SoFi, right? AVGO, Oracle, Palantir, even kind of lagging behind. So not too much that I like, at least for upside, besides Tesla really on the overall markets. Besides that, if the markets do want to drop or reject off key levels, there's a couple names we can keep an eye out on for some downside, which will be in specific. Let's go on to Google. So a lot of these ones are at key levels of support. So if I am looking for some downside in the markets, I'm actually looking at the QQQ in itself off your 612, and it would be downside underneath your previous day low 609. And then for the rest of the names, I would have to keep an eye out on AMD. I do like AMD since it is showing a little bit more weakness. AMD really underneath your 210. So that's what we have coming into today. Gonna be a lot more patient this week. Yesterday, I tried some Tesla towards the upside. Nice kind of immediate retest right off the bat. Didn't have too much continuation with the overall markets dropping. So gonna be a little bit more patient, and just wait for some QQQ confirmation if we do want to see a push back higher. But yeah, that is really it for me today. I'm going to be a little bit more hands off. The only thing I'm somewhat interested in is Tesla all time highs play. So I'm just going to keep focusing on that. Besides that, everything else just scalps, just be a little bit more patient, just kind of quick moves in the market. So for me, either Tesla trading that back up and towards our all time highs, or I'm just going to be looking for quick scalps in the markets like Qs just off your Friday's lows, or the potential reclaim back above your Friday's lows from last week. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Not too much to talk about coming into this week. We just had some red folder news. We're going to have some more red folder news on Thursday. So, really, that's the next major key news event. As I mentioned, there hasn't been too much opportunity really this month besides last week, where we had some moves after FOMC, a lot more, at least range wise. If you're trading continuation, there hasn't been too much. If you've been trading a lot more mean reversions and reversals, there's been a decent amount of opportunity. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, that is about it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open here now. So if you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. And then I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right. Take care, everyone. Peace.